our down regulation day. So remember, we're talking about our nervous system when we're talking about regulation. So in this case, as yesterday we were upregulating our sympathetic nervous system, today we're downregulating our sympathetic nervous system. Or you could also consider it upregulating our parasympathetic nervous system, which is that system that is the paralyze, the rest and digest functions. Things that are running repairs while you sleep, hormones that are released for restful sleep and repairs, tissue repair practices, digesting and breaking down food, that all is controlled by your parasympathetic nervous system. So in contrast to yesterday where we had, bringing everything up in expectation, I want to bring in a different kind of vibe for today for down regulation of the sympathetic nervous system. This is where we're turning that fight or flight off. We're preparing to cool down from our workout, or we are on a recovery day, or maybe this is something you want to do before bed when you go to sleep. I think that's a great thing to do, especially if you have a hard time falling asleep. You might find that going through this and making it part of your sleep hygiene routine to give you a good quality sleep might be helpful. So we're bringing in this vibe of slowing down, breathing deep, and a couple important things. We talked a little bit about that pain face and not scrunching up our face in pain. So a couple things that seem a little out there but make a big difference is relaxing your face, having a calm face, relaxing your breath, very consciously and mindfully turning in, and still giving that input how we want to feel, and also, resisting the temptation to tense against something that maybe we should just relax into. So don't take it any more painful, but also don't go into pain face, things like that, and don't think about things just keep your mind here and what you're doing. Don't get caught up in maybe thinking about something unpleasant that could also have an effect on how effective these are. So calming our mind down and calming our body down go very hand in hand. There's a big mind-body connection, of course. So the methods that we used yesterday, our touch method, which Evie's wanting some right now, manual massage, also known as self-myofascial release or SMR. Myofascial release is just a fancy word. Myofascial means your muscle tissue, and release just refers to the manipulation. She's having an adventure. So just like we used massage in this kind of invigorating way, or as a way to bring attention to places that we're going to be using in our workout, like maybe our glutes tissue or our back or the feet like we worked yesterday, today we're going to do the same thing where we're using self-myofascial release, self-massage, but working it much slower. Nice deep breaths, and just like yesterday we were doing invigorating and light on the tissues, today we're going to go a little bit deeper and slower. So those spots when you get a massage, if you've ever had a massage where it hurts so good, those are the places that we're going to spend some time with. The other elements we have are the breath that we covered yesterday, how to breathe that kind of breath where we let it all out. Today we're going to learn a diaphragmatic breath and lock. So that'll entail stretching our diaphragm muscle, another full deep breath, a whole method there, and then finally we're going to have stretching. I think I talked about these out of order. I did that yesterday too, but we're going to do breathing, we're going to do massage, and then we're going to do finally stretching. And today we're going to do a little dynamic stretching differently from when we did yesterday. And then we're going to do some of that passive stretching. So this is where it would be appropriate to do that passive stretching as opposed to, like we said yesterday, don't do the passive or static stretching prior to a workout, prior to doing that, do it after. So starting with our breath, let's come down to the mat and we're going to lay on our back. This is our diaphragmatic breath. And yesterday we just had kind of a conversation about opening and stretching all the space between your ribs. Today we're also going to breathe really deep into our belly. So just imagine that when we're down on the ground, when you're taking that breath in, it's all the air that you can take in, taking it into the belly, through the sides, the ribs, even up through the collarbone. There's a lot of space that we can fill here with our breath, and that's going to really stretch or contract and squeeze. That diaphragm's going to pull, 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 and then when we exhale, that's where we're going into the stretch. So I'm going to go through this since I can't talk and do the diaphragmatic breath at the same time. I'm going to explain it first, kind of show what I'll do, then I'll do it, and then we can all do it together. So, make sure you have water for today, really important when we're doing any of that. Laying down on your back, we're gonna have the feet on the ground, flat on the ground, about hip width apart with the heels, as if you were going to do a glute bridge, because we are going to do a glute bridge later. Make sure your shoulders aren't hunched forward, relaxing them back to the ground. And when I'm on the ground here, I'm going to begin inhaling and taking that full breath that we just talked about. So belly, ribs, the sides, the back, ribs, and the collarbone, inflating the entire torso, as much air as you can take in. I'm going to then hold my breath, squeeze up into my glute bridge, hold my glute bridge while I exhale every last ounce of air until I can't exhale anymore. You can make a little and when you run out of air, you'll stop making this sound, or generally you'll exhale to the point of almost feeling like you need to cough, which is fine, that's kind of normal. Once you exhale all that air, you're gonna lock that exhale, that empty space in your lungs, holding your tongue to the roof of your mouth and locking out that breath. So it's locked in there. Keep holding it. You can hold your breath, holding your breath with that lock, and then pull your hips down to the floor and relax again. Still holding your breath, and you're gonna feel kind of this empty tightness in your torso. Still holding your breath, tongue up on the roof of your mouth. Then you're going to puff out your chest. It's almost like you're trying to expand your chest, make it wider. If you put your hands onto the sides of your ribs, kind of this motion of almost like how you're sucking in your breath and puffing out your chest. You want to feel your ribs kind of push into your hands there. So practice that motion. All right, so we're going to be doing that while we hold our breath, and that's going to create an intense vacuum that's going to stretch that diaphragm out. It might feel a little weird if it's the first time you've done it, but it's an incredible stretch. And then finally, you're going to need some air, and you can just naturally let it pull back in, and your diaphragm is going to relax to its resting length and continue breathing, and it should feel really good. I really enjoy this. So now that I've talked it through, I'm going to demonstrate, and then we can all do our diaphragmatic stretch together. So watching how it's done, I'm relaxed, okay, make sure you're nice and aligned. And I'm going to take that deep breath in. So it feels quite nice to stretch out that diaphragm, and then after, your breath just returns back to normal, and you feel like you can get a good, clear, clean, deep breath. So now that you've seen it done, we're going to practice together that diaphragmatic breath, starting with a deep inhale. And I would suggest even exhaling any extra air that you have right now. So exhale any old air. Breathe in. Excellent. So if that was your first time ever doing that kind of diaphragmatic lock and breath, can feel a little weird. I definitely think the first time I did that, it felt a little strange because I had never quite like targeted and stretched my diaphragm before, but basically it's this muscle that comes up and separates your lungs here from the rest of your abdominals, not literally, but if you can imagine, and then it's working, it pulls down and pulls air into your lungs like a vacuum, since they're like kind of like bags, and then pushes it out, so it's going like this. So when we inhale, we're pulling it deep. When we exhale, it's stretching, and then when we pull the ribs apart, it stretches it even more. And then we relax and start breathing again. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Keep practicing it. And I actually really enjoy doing before I do my stretching processes, and then finishing my stretching or my cool down, whatever it is, with that. So kind of beginning and ending my practice, if I'm going to choose to do that, doing it 2 times in the practice rather than just 1. All right, so let's talk a little bit about our touch and our massage here. So key elements when we're talking about our massage for down regulation is that tempo. We're going to be moving really slowly. We're also going to keep breathing deeply. So now that we've got this nice deep breath settled in, where we can really just let our diaphragm relax and the breathing can be deep and natural, try to breathe with this. If you hit on something that is sore or tender, just try to breathe. If you notice you're holding your breath, we talked about scrunching your face as being a pain signal sender, but so it is holding your breath. It also can send signals of like, I'm not breathing. So just make sure you're breathing like deeply while you're doing this, and just imagining, hey, this is what I'm working, and really being mindful in your process with it. And don't take it anywhere too painful where you are forced to hold your breath or gasp. If something really hurts, please stray away from it. It doesn't do any good. This should be the hurts so good kind of feelings. And if you follow kind of those simple rules, massages can be really enjoyable, even if you do it on yourself, and still have a lot of benefits. There's lots of benefits to massage. From the most literal and simple, just moving around fluids in the tissues, helping to hydrate and keep everything nice and kind of lush and supple, and then to kind of the more into what it does for you to quite literally take care of yourself and show yourself self-love. It builds a lot of self-confidence and helps you build a good relationship with your body. So since yesterday we did an invigorating massage for our feet, today we're going to do a kind of cooling down regulation massage with our hands. And for our test and retest today, since we tested and retested our balance yesterday, is we're going to do an overhead reach. So I want to make sure that your core is first set up in neutral before you attempt this test. Hips, sit bones straight down. You can sit cross-legged, you can sit legs straight out, whatever feels right. Kneeling. And then make sure you're not overarched in your thoracic spine. We're going to keep it locked down, so no overextension. Nice and engaged. You have a little bit of a lumbar curve, but not an excessive one. Shoulders, imagine you're pulling them wide and relax them, and then up through the crown of your head. It's almost like you're trying to make yourself as tall as possible at the spine. And I'm just going to inhale, raising my arms up, keeping the palms facing each other without overextending my spine, and just notice how far I'm going, where I'm at with my overhead flexibility. And now we're going to do a nice kind of down regulation massage into the tissues of one of our hands and see what we get out of our overhead reach when we return to it after. So let's be comfortable, and remember, you want to make sure that you're breathing through this. And we're going to start kind of in this oval area that is the thumb muscle, and digging in with your other thumb. You'll go first with the grain of the muscle, and while you're doing this, don't kind of clench and tense your hand. Let that hand relax. And first with the grain of the muscle, so basically from the base of the palm up towards the thumb. We're not going to go sideways and towards the palm, but just up the length of the thumb. Taking our deep breathing with this slow and deep massage. And if you find any particular area that is painful, continue to hold on it while you take a deep breath. See if you can get that tension to change. And this isn't breaking up adhesions, but this is still creating blood flow, sending signals into the tissues, helping it to relax, and has a great response to our brain as well. Keep relaxing those fingers. Now that we've worked with the direction of the muscle, let's go across. So you're going to drag your thumb across from the outside edge of the palm in towards the center over that muscle. Again, you find a spot, hold on it with that pressure. See if you can relax the hand and just ease that feeling. Let your body know that's okay. And also that sore spot is always there, right? We're just not tuning into it. So touching it is enhancing our proprioception and letting us feel these areas that perhaps a little unhappy. Now that we've worked all of that, let's go up to the bridge of the palm, and you're gonna work your way across the inside knuckle. And we're just trying to roll each knuckle there and get it to have its own movement. You can roll it like a wave, and then work the edges of the palm. You can squeeze and pinch the edges of the palm. Not painful pinch, but a technique to get in there. And then finally, we're gonna start with the thumb. It's like you're trying to pull the meat off the bone of your thumb, twisting and pulling, getting all the tissues in the thumb. Good stretch out. And we're gonna repeat this, working our way down each finger. You can work it between the knuckles. If you don't want to work it between your thumb and your index finger, you can squeeze it between two of your knuckles of your other finger. Ooh, I popped the knuckle. Twist and pull. Clean that meat off the bone all the way down. Finish with the pinky. Still breathing deep. And when you finish with all the fingers, just like we did on the foot, let's run down the top of the hand and get all that skin to just slide all the way down each fingertip. And as an extra little treat, you can take your elbow and work down the forearm of that arm, using the strength and the shape of the elbow to assist that massage. Again, nice deep breath, spend any extra time. And now, one side done, let's go and retest and see what it looks like. Let's see, I'll retest in the same way. Make sure you retest in the same way, however you were sitting. Arrange your core. And to me. Nice. Able to see. If I'm sideways, this one is coming back further. I can't get my other one as far back. So great. Love that. Let's do the other side now. Let's just go on through. Remember, start with the thumb, and with the grain of the muscle, make sure you're relaxing your fingers. And breathing. Spend time in any spots. You can give them a breath. And work across that muscle. To the knuckles, getting each one to roll and wave. Think of this as just lubricating the gears. You are getting all of that valuable fluid inside. We are meant to be wet. That's why we're so much water and fluid. And also as we age, we dry out in the sun. And generally things get stickier and move less as they dry out. So just maintenance of this fluidity is really valuable. And it is not something that is just a magical one-time thing. This is maintenance, right? Do you perform maintenance on your car once and it's done? And also, the more maintenance you put in, better your car is going to run. There's also a minimum effective dose, and I encourage everybody to find that for them. You can always add more if you like to, but once you know that dose for you, definitely lets you plan a little bit more for the rest of your life, because we have that too, right? Working out isn't just our life. Even as much as I love working out, I have lots of other parts of my life. So learn your minimum effective dose, and also know your maximum dose, because that's poison. That's injury, right? So both of those things. Finish with your skin slide on the top of the hands. And you can give those hands a nice stretch and relax. Now we're going to do some more dynamic stretching instead of myofascial direct manipulation stretching. So we've got kind of 3 moves, and these moves, why I selected these, I do like dynamic stretching in my cool downs as well, especially when they incorporate really juicy movements. I take my time, I slow the tempo way down, and I work that deep breath through my whole movement. So I'm taking big inhales when I'm reaching in stretches and exhaling and relaxing in the stretch. So first one is one of my all-time favorites, the scorpion roll. So for this one, we are laying down. You can just relax your arms wherever's comfortable. You're going to want your forehead down. I'm just going to put it to the side so I can talk. But you're going to start by kicking up one leg, lift up that knee, keep that hip pressed down into the floor, and then lift up the hip, kind of open that knee. It's almost like you're trying to show the crotch to the sky, and take that big inhale as you do so, and relax, and then slowly coming back in reverse. And you can take this super duper slow. Or you can take it a little bit faster. But whatever your tempo, just make sure you're really able to relax. Breathe through that movement as you're doing it. Inhaling and exhaling. For our next dynamic stretch, and this is something I might do for a warm-up as well, but I also would highly encourage adding these to your recovery routine. So this would be your active recovery or before bed routine if you're looking to improve hip mobility, improve your hip function. Do this at times when you're purposefully trying to repair. It's great as a warm-up, but you really want to make sure that if you're trying to make those changes, and this goes for any mobility, do it before your rest and repair cycles. That way, when you go into your rest and repair mode, you've set that tone. So, hands and knees, you want to keep the core engaged. These are our hip cars, our hip controlled active range of motion. So starting with flexion, bring that knee into the hip without flexing your spine, out to the side, up into the back, and then repeat. And the goal is to not move your core. You can balance something on your back if that helps. And to move in a really controlled fashion. It's almost like you're fighting yourself. And after you've done about 3 or 4 or 5, reverse the direction of your circle. Don't forget to breathe. And let's do the other side. Keep it even. Starting with your flexion. Go. And then slow it down, switch that direction. Let's take it down to the floor onto the side for the last kind of dynamic down regulation. And the 3 that I'm sharing today are just kind of my general total body juicy goodness. Covers the open book one we're about to do now, which is a little variation on our contract release from yesterday, and the first one that we did, which I'm not thinking of the name right now for some reason. Anyway, so we have, and then our third category here, the open book stretch. So the second category with that, okay, so the scorpion roll and the open book circles we're doing today kind of cover like a hip or an upper body, like full dynamic with a breath movement. The hip cars, which you can also do shoulder cars as well, same concept, quadruped, moving your shoulder through a full range of motion, keeping your core. Those would be a little bit more specific into one joint as opposed to a little bit more of like a whole system. That's what I meant to say. So open book stretch, as opposed to yesterday where we locked in and contracted and then did our release technique. Today we're going to use our breath and we're going to trace that arm up and around. Inhale, exhale, exhale, here. So inhale, turn and look, and then exhale, back around. And you can take this again, slow, and exhale, or you can take it a little more. The pace is up to you, just like that scorpion roll. Just remember, enough of a tempo that you're able to get at least one full deep breath and you're not having to breathe fast, right? We want it to be slow and controlled. So let's do the other side now of that open book. All right, so that would be kind of my 3 general recommendations of good dynamic stretching for downreg. Obviously, I can't show you every single dynamic stretch. There are so many, there are infinite. You can always go out and find them for yourself, but you can identify a dynamic stretch by the fact that it's moving. And then just remember, you can use any specific stretch if you're looking to increase the flexibility of your hamstrings, doing an inchworm, but just going slower and with the breath. So now we're going to get into the last category of stretch, and this is one we didn't cover yesterday, and that's the static or passive stretching. And it's the kind of stereotypical stretching that you think of. It's where people get into a pose to stretch in, and then they hold it for about 30 to 45 seconds. 30 seconds is kind of the minimum effective dose on static stretching. 45 seconds is better, especially the older we get, the longer it takes for those kind of effects to take place that we want to take place in passive stretching. So if you're like 60 or older, I would definitely recommend taking 45 seconds at least in your stretches. Again, just like with other stretches, do not take it any more painful. You're meant to feel good. First one we're going to do is downward dog, nice passive stretch. If we hold it of our entire posterior chain. So quadruped position, hands and knees. We want the knees right under the hips, core engaged, and the hands under the shoulders. We're going to push up and back. Walk your heels out and then settle them to the ground. You're going to be active by pushing your chest to your thighs. And hold this stretch. Remember, we're relaxing and breathing deep. Being mindful about where we want to feel this stretch. And we can come down to the knees. For our next stretch, we're going to go into child's pose. So relax your feet down. You can go wide with your knees if it's more comfortable. And we're going to push back onto our hips. First stretching our arms in front and then reach them back, palms up. And you can rest your forehead to the ground. It's more comfortable for you to keep your arms overhead or to the side, but just relax. I'm going to use those deep breaths. stretch that we'll be doing. We're going to come onto our back now for a lovely, happy baby. So on the back, bring your ankles into the middle and grab onto them with your feet and just let the hips open and relax and breathe. Or sneeze. Bless me. All right, you can wiggle your way out of your happy baby and come up to seated. So that kind of concludes our 3 modes of down regulating that sympathetic nervous system. So we have breathing, the diaphragmatic breath, we have massage, touch, taking a deeper, slower approach. And today, though and yesterday, though we just did hands and feet, I just want to remind you that there is so much more than I can fit into one short class about how much you can do for the rest of your body with foam rolling. We have covered that a little bit before in day 1 of kettlebell deep dive, talking about using your kettlebell as a mobility tool. Sometimes we only have our hands, or we might have something like a foam roller or a yoga wheel at home, and you can also use other things, a dowel, a dumbbell. There are many things that you can use to help do self-massage, so don't feel limited to just hands and feet. And then for our last part, we had the stretching, using kind of a slower dynamic stretch. You can also do the same stretches that you might do before a workout, a little more muscle specific. Just take them slower and breathe with them and move through a range of motion, of course. And then static stretching, which is much more effective and recommended after a workout as part of a cool down, a recovery, or a separate practice, or before bed. I would say I do not advise, and neither does any of the academies and National Strength and Conditioning Association, the Academy of Sports Medicine. They do not advise doing static stretching before a workout because of its negative effects and potentially increasing your chances of injury. So, not before a workout, any other time. And in conclusion, for today's down regulation, since this has all been about our nervous system, just a little note about, it might seem weird, but there's some other things that you can do. And one of them is humming. If you hum while you exhale, or you can even make a these sounds actually also help get the parasympathetic system upregulated, and it's kind of interesting looking back, since we have seen this now in research about how for years monks have been making the same sounds shown to have these effects in your simple Om. Contains all 3 of those sounds. So humming, Om, if it's weird, it's weird, but whatever works for you. And this is all about listening to your body. This whole kind of series so far into 2021 is learning how to listen to your body and learning, most importantly, how to talk back. So I want you to have a conversation with your body, and I want you to lead the conversation. You're still going to listen, but you're going to lead the conversation, because you are the one that knows where you want to go on this journey. If you just listen to your body and what it just wants to, survive and pass on genes. So being fat and lazy are all good for your body, but for you mentally, your consciousness, your mind, that does not suit us well and does not make us mentally healthy. So you can drive the intentions of the body. It will reward you if you take care of it. So yeah, 2021, let's internally focus somewhat, and that way we can be more present externally. And I hope you have many more eye-opening experiences with your body this year and going forward, and that brings you kind of closer to the people around you as well. Being close to yourself really helps you be present in your daily life. So thank you so much for attending Primal Regulation, and I will see you all for the next course to be announced.